Item number 20.
Move to approve.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Are there any discussions? I do have something that I do want to say. I want to go back and remember why this council voted to suspend Citizens Forum. And the reason why was the intimidation, the threats that were made from right there to right here. And it had to do with the appointments to the mayor's staff. And here we are today. I mean, how many months? That's almost a year since that time, 10 months since that time, and we still haven't voted on that. I would be in favor of bringing the Citizens Forum back. We can do it the first meeting in November. As long as during the month of October, we vote on the directors that have not yet been approved by this council. And when we do that, I will be happy to vote for it. But until that time, my position is I'm not for it. If the council wants to reinstate it, that's perfectly fine. But that's my position.
My statement would be that rules mean nothing if they're not enforced. And I have worked in the mental health care field for many years. And it is very important that people do not willingly put themselves in a position of being abused. And at times, there has been verbal abuse in this room. And I do not think I would be doing my job as a mental health counselor if I did not say I am not willing to put myself in the position of being verbally abused.
Any other comments?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't, I've never stated that we haven't had challenges with Citizen Forum and sometimes how it's been conducted, or probably you want to call it that. But I contend, though, that regardless of the words or various gestures that perhaps have been used at times when someone is presenting, it's not anything that's been done that we as a council can't handle. So if we're sitting here thinking that we won't still continue at times to be challenged, then I don't think we're being honest with ourselves. So regardless of what the situation is, I think all of us in here, including the general public, once they clearly know and understand what the process is, what the procedures are, and that we're going to make sure as a council that that's carried out in the manner in which we think it should be. I think once that's clear, or made clear with the constituents, then I think they will abide by that. I just don't think we are fully carrying out our duties as a council when we let one or two individuals get up and conduct themselves in a disorderly or in a improper or inappropriate way. So when this action was taken in October, I don't think it was the intent to permanently get rid of Citizen Forum, because that's saying that you are permanently telling the general public, all of our constituents, that we don't want to hear you address concerns that you have in your area.
Yes.
That was not the intent. And with that being the case, then I think we should, as a council, just work out whatever those issues are, address them to our satisfaction, and move on. So transparency, open government, that's what this is all about. I think all of us sought these offices with that in mind. And to end that with prolonging, terminating Citizen Forum, I just don't think it's the right thing for us to do. And this is not my first time saying this. Some of you have heard it every time for the past few months that we have discussed that. So again, that's my position.
And this, every time we come to talk about this, the list of excuses as to why not to do it lengthens. This time it's certain rules, it's intimidation and disrespect, it's the directors. you know, I think you ought to be honest and just say, I don't want to hear what the voting public has to say. You know, and
That's not.
you want to finish it, yeah.
Tell the truth, that's fine. That's not the truth.
Okay, your, whose truth is it? You act like a dictator. Okay, unless you define it as being the truth, then it's not truth to you. So,
That was rude.
are you finished? Okay. All right. It's always an excuse. We are elected by the people. You know, this is supposed to be the people's government. It's of the people, by the people, and for the people. But it's not that. I've said it before. It is of the council, of the majority council, by the majority council, and for the majority council. Our position as a council cannot be that our purpose is going to be to make individual council people comfortable. When we decided to run for these offices, nobody ever said it was going to be flowery beds of ease, as my grandmother would say. You know, this is a council that's supposed to be about the people's business. But if we as a majority council have the arrogance to tell the people who put us here that we don't want to hear what they got to say, we should not be sitting here making decisions for them. We're not making decisions for ourselves as individuals. We're making decisions for the people of the city of Hattiesburg. And if you do not want to hear from the people of the city of Hattiesburg, go home. Go home, write some of those blogs that appear late night and hide behind those screens. Don't do this. Don't sit here and say that you're representing the interests of the people of Hattiesburg when you won't listen to them. Now, if we're frightened of what people say, that's an individual problem. You know, mental health or absence of self-esteem or whatever the case may be. But what a person says to you and about you does not define you, does not determine how you're going to feel about yourself. You're just giving the respect to the public that put you here to at least listen to what they have to say. That is not to say that you go home and do it or that you internalize it. It's that you have the respect of the people who this city belongs to listen to them. That is it.
I'm sorry that you're holding the people hostage. Speaking to you all because I've not brought directors to your voter. You said that was the impetus for not doing that in October. I was just reelected for the second time last year in September. That was not the impetus. The impetus was people coming up here doing the same thing that you all had happened. I guess part of for the last year and a half, and that was them talking anyway to me. And they came up and they talked the way they wanted to talk with you all. And you thought that wasn't appropriate. It was appropriate as long as it was pointed at me. It wasn't appropriate when it was pointed at you. It had nothing to do with the director. This is your meeting, which I am often made aware of. That is your meeting. It's not my meeting. So this is the way you order that you run your meeting. It has nothing to do with whether I bring something or don't bring something. This is how you operate. This is what you say you're going to operate in the charter that was approved by the voters in 1985. So it's a shame that you hold the people hostage because I've not brought directors for you to vote.
This whole thing started before the election last year, and if you remember, it did. It goes back to school board. It goes back to, I will never forget the day for the rest of my life. I sat here and I took it from 16, 17 different people about how racist I was because how I didn't support The Hattiesburg Public Schools had absolutely nothing to do with that vote, and everybody in this room knew it. But it didn't matter. It sat right here and it took place for all. So for you to say that it came after or before the election, where it started well before that. And it wasn't just directed at you. There was some directed at me. There was some directed at all of us here. But the contention last October and November, it was October, was when it came to a head. And it had to do with approving the people. That's what the discussions were about, that you were putting forward. We went through this in 2005-06. We went all the way to the Supreme Court. We could clear a lot of it, and you're going to have this discussion in your office. The contentions that we've had since I've been here for the 10 years always dealt with personnel appointments. You have a job to do, we have a job to do, and when one doesn't let the other do their job, that's when you have problems. And that's the problem that we, to me, just like you think I'm micromanaging with this budget. That's your perception. Okay, that's fine, I can accept that. But I can also turn around and say, once we give this budget to you, we don't have anything to do with this budget anymore. It's yours. It's not ours. We can come back, you can ask to make additions to it or adjustments to it. We want to make sure, or my contention was, and I've been doing this for 10 years, the significant thing was payment. Now, that's why we're getting off the subject, and I'm sorry. But I think for this, for us to move forward, all these things that hadn't been taken care of, if we're going to move forward together and right, they need to be taken care of. They need to be voted on, and we need to move forward. And quit trying to manipulate the outcome and drag who you want to drag along. They have to have the approval of this council. It's plain and simple. And if they don't, we need to move on. Let's go. And then I believe a lot of these problems will go away. They won't be there anymore. There won't be things that we're holding on to, causing us to lose our focus and deterring us from doing the proper job that we need to do. That's my thoughts.
Well, my thoughts, Mr. President, is that, again, this is where you operate your business. We can talk about who said what, when, where, when it started. But this is your council, this is your meeting. And your charter said you operate a meeting in a manner. And you chose not to do that. And to hold people hostage because of something I should have not done is not the way you are, it's not the way you run business. You don't muzzle people. I have been maligned, and all of y'all have. I don't say that you have not been, but I think it came to a head at that point, and you decided, not because of directors, you decided because people were being boisterous. They came up here and started being boisterous, some who had not been boisterous before. And at that point, you decided not to let them talk anymore. Not because of me not bringing directors, they just been elected in September because of the way the people came up here. It's a shame if you hold them hostage because of that.
And that's your perception. That's perfectly fine.
Correct.
And I'll just add, I don't think you should be verbally used either.
I appreciate it.
I don't think any constituent would tell you that I didn't listen to them. I'm contacted constantly by constituents, and I appreciate that. That's exactly why I'm here.
I appreciate it.
All these self-serving statements do not get the citizens forum brought forward.
That's right.
You know, we need to open this up to the people that it belongs to. This government does not belong to us. And Kim, I hope you're not stretching this definition of manipulation, because what you do best is to manipulate the process. You know, you manipulated your way through maintaining a majority on this city council by the way that you handle redistricting. You manipulated your way into the ability to control what we do here and to keep us from advancing as a city the way that we should be. So don't go back to why we're where we are. You sit where you sit because you manipulated the system through redistricting.
And that's why we're in federal court again, being sued, and another $600,000.
What is the price of the freedom of the people?
The way that
And into freedom from your dictatorship.
Look, a friend told me you can't reason with unreasonable people, so I'm not going to say anything more. It's just perfectly fine. We have a motion on the table, on the floor, and that is to approve or to reinstate citizens' forum. Those that are in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion to approve, to reinstate the citizens forum. If you're for reinstating, raise your hand. Those that are opposed, we're not going to reinstate it. Let's move to item 21.
Same three, huh?